Imagine stepping out into Kensington Gardens on, like, a random Tuesday afternoon in February.
Ugh, the worst time of year for it.
Right.
Ugh.
The sky is just that oppressive, unbroken sheet of London gray, and the air is damp, biting
Right.
right through your coat.
Yeah, that chill you can't really shake.
Exactly. And the ground is basically a sponge of wet, dead grass.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine you are 35, maybe 40, and you are just entirely hollowed out by this agonizingly slow realization that your life hasn't really amounted to much.
Oof. Yeah, the classic midlife crisis.
Right? You're an artist who isn't making art.
Yeah.
You're just walking, putting one foot in front of the other in this incredibly mundane, sensory-deprived environment.
So bleak.
And then out of the corner of your eye, breaking literally every law of physics and probability, you see a small, white, brilliantly burning crystal just sitting there in the wet grass.
Which just doesn't belong there at all.
No, not at all. Your brain just can't categorize it. So relying on raw, primitive curiosity, you stoop down and you touch it. Instantaneously, the gray sky, the damp, cold, London, Earth, it is all violently and completely eradicated.
Just gone.
Total sensory oblivion. And when your eyes finally snap open, the damp chill is gone. It's replaced by the sterile, recycled air of a featureless metal room 79 light years from Earth.
It's such a wild jump.
It really is. And staring back at you are three equally bewildered strangers. You've got a television actress, an advertising executive, and a secretary.
It's just a phenomenal, inciting incident because, it weaponizes the mundane so perfectly.
It really does. Welcome to the deep dive, by the way, everyone.
Yes, welcome. And what you just described is the setup for Richard Cooper's 1960s British science fiction novel Beyond Earth, The Transit of Humanity, or, often it's just called Transit.
Right, transit.
And Cooper really understands that to make the alien truly terrifying, you first have to ground the reader in the achingly familiar.
Yeah, the wet grass, the gray sky.
Exactly. He takes this guy, Richard Avery, an ordinary man who is suffocating under the weight of an early midlife crisis, and he subjects him to an absolute, uncompromising paradigm shift.
It's completely jarring.
Right. We are looking at a masterclass in mid-century speculative fiction today, one that uses physical abduction as basically a Trojan horse to explore the absolute limits of human resilience, sociological architecture, and really the actual utility of our emotions.
And for anyone listening who has ever been, obsessed with the architecture of a mystery box narrative, this is for you.
Oh, totally.
Think of the island in Lost, or the arena in the Hunger Games, or even the labyrinth in the Maze Runner. This deep dive is going to dismantle the original blueprint for those tropes.
Because this book really did lay the groundwork for a lot of that.
Yeah, exactly. We aren't just summarizing a piece of vintage pulp here. We are tearing apart the mechanics of how a mid-century author built this ultimate definitive test of humanity's intrinsic worth.
And the core mechanism of that test is right in the title, right? Transit.
Yes, transit. It is not just about the literal logistics of moving biological matter across the galaxy.
Right. It's not a bus ride.
No, it's about a forced metamorphosis.
Yeah, the physical displacement is really merely the catalyst. The transit they're talking about is a psychological crucible. And, Avery is the perfect vehicle for this.
How so?
Well, if Cooper had chosen, a highly trained astronaut or a Green Beret or maybe a brilliant theoretical physicist, the narrative would instantly devolve into a procedural problem-solving exercise.
Oh, right, because they're trained for extreme situations.
Exactly. An astronaut expects the vacuum of space, They're insulated by protocol. But Avery has no protocol.
He's just a depressed artist.
Right. He is dissatisfied, unmoored, and completely ordinary. So the terror he feels waking up in that metal room is unmitigated by training, which means you, the reader, are forced to experience that raw, unfiltered panic right alongside him.
Let's talk about the specific architecture of that panic, though, starting with those companions in the metal room.
Yeah, let's look at the group.
Because the unseen captures didn't just scoop up 4 random humans. The selection feels incredibly deliberate, almost, clinical.
Highly curated.
Right. You have Barbara Miles, the television actress, Mary Durward, the secretary, Thomas Sutton, the advertising executive, and Avery, the struggling artist.
It's a very specific slice of society.
It is. If you look at that through the lens of a mid-century urban landscape, you are looking at the absolute apex of artificial modern construction.
Media, marketing, administration, aesthetics.
Exactly. The unseen intelligence has effectively skimmed the froth off the top of the modern human sociological latte.
That's a great way to put it.
They bypass the mechanics, the farmers, the people whose daily survival depends on manipulating the physical earth.
Right. The people with practical survival skills are nowhere to be found.
Nowhere. Instead, they abducted individuals whose entire survival on Earth depended on manipulating perception or navigating bureaucratic and social hierarchies.
Which implies a highly specific hypothesis from the alien captors, right?
Yeah, what do you think they're testing?
Well, they want to see what happens when the fragile scaffolding of modern abstract society is completely vaporized. They want to know if the creatures who build television sets and marketing campaigns have any actual fundamental utility left underneath all that.
Which makes their very first interaction with these captors so deeply, deeply ironic.
Oh, the communication method.
Yes, they wake up in this hyper-advanced, featureless metal holding pen, right? Having been transported 79 light-years instantaneously.
Which implies mind-boggling technology.
Exactly. And the mechanism the aliens provide for communication is this clunky, mechanized device that essentially operates like a Model 33 teleprinter.
It physically clacks out text.
Yes, it's like being locked inside a zero-gravity, faster-than-light spaceship, and the only way to steer is by turning the crank on an antique phonograph.
It's such an incredibly jarring technological juxtaposition.
It really is.
We are looking at a prime example of 1960s retrofuturism here.
Right, the author's limitations showing.
Yeah, the conceptual leap to faster-than-light travel was super easy for the era's authors. But the leap to seamless digital synthetic interfaces, something like a modern conversational AI, was just largely beyond their paradigm.
It hadn't been invented yet, not even in fiction, really.
Right. But from a narrative standpoint, it actually works. The mechanical nature of the teleprinter functions brilliantly as an instrument of psychological torture.
I would argue it's significantly more terrifying than, like, a smooth HAL 9000 style voice.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. An AI voice, even a really malevolent one, mimics humanity. It offers the illusion of conversation.
Right, there's a back and forth.
Yeah, but a teleprinter is just a cold, indifferent machine blindly executing a script. You demand answers, you scream into the void, and all you get back is the slow, agonizing clack, clack, clack of a metal-type bar striking paper.
It slows the pacing of their panic down to a mechanical crawl.
Exactly. And the message it delivers is just bone-chilling. The machine informs them that their situation is a predicament that is, quote, neither clear nor sane.
Neither clear nor sane. That is just a masterstroke of psychological destabilization.
Right. What does that even mean?
Well, it is an explicit warning to abandon human logic. The captors are stating up front that the epistemological framework Avery and the others brought with them from London is entirely useless here.
Leave your earthly logic at the door.
Exactly. Reason, negotiation, legal rights, the currency of an ad executive or a secretary have absolutely zero purchasing power in this environment.
And before they can even really process the absolute bleakness of that statement, the holding pen phase of the experiment just ends.
The metal room opens up.
Yeah, the sterile safety of the room is revoked, and they are dropped directly into the active testing environment.
Which is quite a shift.
Yeah, they are deposited onto the surface of a planet orbiting the star Achernar.
Now, Achernar is interesting because it grounds the narrative in actual astrophysics.
Wait, it's a real place.
It is. It's a real, exceptionally bright binary star system. It's located roughly 79 light-years from Earth in the constellation of Eridanus.
Oh, wow. So Cooper did his homework.
He did. By anchoring the destination to a verifiable point in the cosmos, Cooper completely bypasses that nebulous galaxy far, far away trope.
Yeah, it makes it feel more immediate.
Right. It forces the reader to confront the terrifyingly quantifiable distance. 79 light-years is a real number.
But the environment itself, when they step out, is just a total sensory assault of alienation.
It looks inviting at first, though.
It does. They step out onto this tropical, lush, undeniably beautiful island. But, you know, the sky above them holds 2 moons.
Yeah, the 2 moons. That is such a crucial environmental detail.
It really is. Because during the day, they're dealing with the blistering heat and the immediate biological demands of survival. But at night, when human beings typically seek comfort in the familiar constellations, they look up and see 2 moons.
It's an inescapable, looming visual reminder that Earth is gone.
Yes, you can never forget where you are.
It acts as a continuous psychological abrasive. It absolutely prevents any acclimatization.
And that feeling of wrongness extends into the biological ecosystem, too.
The wildlife, right?
Yeah, they encounter local fauna that superficially resembles Earth animals like they see what looks like rabbits. But Upon closer inspection, these creatures have 6 legs,
Right, the six-legged rabbits.
which isn't just a quirky background detail to make it feel sci-fi.
No, it demonstrates an entirely different evolutionary tree. It demands that the humans unlearn all their basic instincts about how prey moves, how predators strike, and just generally how the local biology functions.
And they don't have the luxury of taking their time to study these 6-legged rabbits either, because the predicament comes with a brutal, built-in ticking clock.
Ah, the survival kit.
Exactly. The captors leave them a survival kit. It has a gun, a finite amount of ammunition, some basic knives, hatchets, camping gear, and these flashcards to identify which plants will nourish them and which will kill them.
Flashcards, that's so clinical.
It's like a bizarre standardized test.
Yeah.
But the real kicker is the food ration. They're given exactly 1 day's worth of food.
That 24-hour food supply is the ultimate forcing function.
It really lights a fire under them.
It violently shifts the narrative from a passive psychological mystery into an active Robinsonade.
A Robinsonade, like Robinson Crusoe.
Exactly, a cosmic survivalist struggle against the elements. If they were given, say, a month of food, the story would just bog down in existential debates inside a tent.
Yeah, they just sit around talking about what the teleprinter meant.
Right. But 1 day of food dictates that they must immediately engage with the alien environment. They have to decode the flashcards, deduce the hunting patterns of alien biology, and secure an ongoing caloric intake, or they will simply expire.
It is an immediate demand for functional adaptation.
Which forces the group to organize. And this is where we really have to look critically at how a 1960s author tackles sociological reconstruction.
Yes, because under the pressure of starvation, the group fractures along very distinct, very traditional lines.
Very traditional.
Avery assumes a leadership role, and he eventually pairs off with Barbara. Sutton pairs with Mary.
And we see an immediate regression to strict hunter-gatherer archetypes.
Exactly. The men take the weapons and go out to conquer the 6-legged fauna, while the women remain at the camp, maintaining the domestic sphere, tending the fire, and, well, eventually dealing with pregnancy.
Now, obviously, this division of labor is undeniably a reflection of the societal attitudes of the era in which the book was written.
The 1960s.
Right. It operates on the assumption that under extreme duress, the veneer of modern egalitarianism burns away, revealing the supposed biological imperative for traditional gender roles.
Which is definitely a trope of the time.
It is, however, to be impartial to the source material, it is worth noting that the narrative does not entirely relegate the women to passive victimhood.
Oh, no, they aren't just sitting around.
Exactly. They are portrayed as cognitively vital to the survival operation. They are deciphering the flora flashcards, managing the caloric rationing, and really acting as full strategic members of the team.
But hold on, let me push back on that for a second. Because that completely contradicts the entire premise of psychological evolution that the book sets up in the beginning.
Yes.
Well, we established that the whole point of this transit is this forced, profound metamorphosis, right?
Right.
But if they just instantly snap back to the most basic primitive factory settings of humanity, like men hit things with sticks, women watch the cave, that isn't evolution. That's a massive devolution.
I see what you're saying.
Is Cooper arguing that true human nature is just this rigid, archaic binary? Or is this simply a failure of imagination from a mid-century writer who literally couldn't conceptualize a survival scenario that didn't look like a 1950s sitcom with hatchets?
That is the exact friction at the heart of the text's sociological experiment.
Right. It feels contradictory.
You can certainly read it as a failure of imagination, a tether the author couldn't quite cut politically and socially. But if we analyze the mechanics of their survival within the context of the story, the evolution isn't necessarily about inventing a progressive utopian social structure.
What is it about then?
It's about shedding the specific paralysis of their modern lives. Think about Thomas Sutton, the ad executive. He was previously paid to manipulate consumer anxiety.
Yeah, pushing paper and ideas.
Right. Here, he has to calculate the trajectory of a six-legged animal's leap, factor in the alien gravity, and execute a kill with limited ammunition.
It's very tangible.
And Mary Durward goes from taking dictation to managing the triage of alien toxins. The evolution is in the re-engagement with physical consequence.
Ah, okay. I get that.
They are devolving sociologically, perhaps, but they are evolving neurologically. They're waking up from the numb sleepwalk of their Kensington Gardens existence.
They are forced to trade those abstract anxieties for immediate, tangible realities.
Exactly.
But the moment they actually manage to stabilize, The moment they figure out the flashcards, secure a food source, and establish a precarious equilibrium with this environment, the true nature of the experiment reveals itself.
Because the environment was never the actual test.
No, the island is just an arena. They discover that they are not the only intelligent life forms dropped onto Acrinar.
Yeah, the sudden introduction of the second group radically alters the trajectory of the narrative.
It completely shifts gears.
The unseen captors have also deposited 4 humanoid aliens, originating from a planet in the Alpha Centauri system.
And the humans quickly dub them the Golden Ones.
Right.
And the physiology of these Golden Ones is designed to be deeply intimidating. They are taller, significantly stronger, faster, and they operate with this kind of lethal efficiency.
They are essentially apex predators draped in a humanoid form.
Yeah, and more importantly, they are inherently aggressively hostile.
There's no talking to them.
None. They aren't interested in a diplomatic partition of the island. They hunt the humans for sport.
The Golden Ones really represent a fascinating embodiment of a specific mid-century science fiction trope.
Which one?
The Nietzschean Superman, stripped of any moral or ethical constraints.
Oh, fascinating.
Biologically speaking, the concept of a humanoid species evolving independently in the Alpha Centauri system stretches scientific credulity quite a bit.
Yeah, what are the odds they look just like tall, golden humans?
Exactly, basically 0. But narratively, their humanoid form is crucial. If they were, say, giant alien arachnids, the conflict would simply be pest control.
Right, it would just be man versus monster.
But because they are humanoid, they serve as a direct, dark mirror to Avery and his group. They represent what humanity might look like if it optimized purely for physical dominance and predatory aggression.
And it shifts the genre from this survival procedural into a relentless, brutal guerrilla war.
It becomes incredibly violent.
It really does. And it's here that the curtain is finally pulled back on the true architects of this nightmare.
The game makers.
Right. This isn't just some random encounter in space. The teleprinter, the metal room, the island, the Golden Ones. It is all a highly curated synthetic conflict designed by an ancient, hyper-advanced intelligence.
Referred to in the text as the Transcendental Elders.
Yes, the Transcendental Elders. And the Elders have orchestrated this blood sport with a very specific, almost bureaucratic objective.
Which is wild to think about.
Yeah, they are using this island as a gladiatorial crucible to determine which species, the humans from Earth or the Supermen from Alpha Centauri, is genetically and psychologically fit to rule this entire galactic sector.
Which raises massive red flags about the psychology of these so-called Transcendental Elders.
I mean, seriously, think about the mechanics of this selection process for a second.
Okay.
If the absolute highest authority in the galaxy, a civilization capable of folding space-time and bending the physical universe to its will, decides that the only valid civil service exam for galactic governance is a battle to the death in a tropical thunderdome.
Right, like a cosmic reality TV show.
Exactly, like a precursor to the Hunger Games, but orchestrated by deities. What does that say about the universe?
It's pretty grim.
It implies an institutional stagnation of epic proportions. It suggests that despite their technological godhood, the Elders' entire sociological framework is built on a foundation of pure Darwinian violence.
It really reveals a deeply cynical, perhaps even desperate cosmic bureaucracy. The Elders possess incomprehensible technological power, yet they rely on the most primitive biological metric, who can kill who in a jungle, to make administrative decisions.
It's so backwards.
It is. And this sets up the central thematic paradox for Avery and the humans. If the prize for winning this war is integration into a galactic hierarchy that values only brutal dominance, do they have to shed their humanity and become as sadistic as the Golden Ones to survive?
Do they have to play the Elders' sick game on the Elders' turn?
Exactly.
And that is where the narrative genius of this book really kicks in, because the humans reject that premise entirely.
They absolutely refuse to play by those rules.
Right. They do not win by outmuscling the Golden Ones. They don't win by tapping into some dark, suppressed reservoir of human savagery.
They couldn't, even if they tried.
No. If they tried to fight the Golden Ones one-on-one, brute force against brute force, they would be slaughtered.
The text establishes early on that the Golden Ones are physically superior in every metric.
So the question the book poses is, what is the actual mechanism of their victory?
And the answer is the strategic application of empathy and community.
Empathy as a weapon.
Yes. The Golden Ones operate as solitary apex predators. They possess incredible individual strength, but they lack the psychological framework for deep cooperation.
They're selfish.
Completely. They fight as a collection of individuals driven entirely by ego and sadism. The humans, conversely, are physically outmatched, but their capacity for what the text terms pity and the desire for creative work becomes this overwhelming tactical advantage.
Let's break down exactly how pity functions as a weapon here, because I love this detail.
It's fascinating.
If one of the golden ones is injured, the others likely just leave him behind,
Yeah.
right? Because an injured predator is a liability to the ego of the others.
Right. They have no concept of caretaking.
But if Thomas or Avery is injured, the humans use their camp, their knowledge of the medicinal plants from the flashcards, to tend to the wound.
They preserve life.
Yes, pity preserves the life of the individual, which in turn preserves the collective knowledge and tactical experience of the group.
It's compound interest on survival.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Empathy allows them to formulate complex, coordinated ambushes. They don't have to be faster than the golden ones. They just have to be able to communicate effectively enough to lure them into a trap built from alien vines and sheer communal desperation.
Exactly. The human ability to conceptualize the suffering of others, pity, facilitates the creation of a tightly knit phalanx.
It's their superpower.
It is. It allows them to distribute labor, share risk, and anticipate each other's needs without explicit instruction.
While the golden ones are just out there doing their own thing.
Right. The golden one's hyper-individualism makes them predictable and ultimately brittle.
Brittle, that's a great word for it.
Yeah, and the human's interdependence makes them resilient and highly adaptable. The author is basically positing a profound evolutionary counterargument here.
Which is
That peak evolution is not the isolated, invulnerable Superman. Peak evolution is the fragile individual woven into a unified, empathetic collective.
which exposes the profound, glaring irony of the transcendental elders.
Oh, the elders are a mess.
They really are.
Yeah.
These quote-unquote gods can teleport matter across 79 light years, but they have to set up a primitive gladiator pit just to observe the concept of teamwork.
It's absurd when you think about it.
It's like watching a team of quantum physicists throw rocks at a beehive to try and understand how honey is made.
Yeah,
It highlights a massive blind spot in their hyper-advanced evolution.
it really does. The elders have achieved a state of technological mastery that has completely insulated them from struggle.
And without struggle.
Without struggle, there is no necessity for empathy or community. They have become stagnant.
So they're basically outsourcing their emotional growth.
Exactly. They are forced to crowdsource their sociological evolution by observing lesser species because they have lost the capacity to generate those emotional bonds themselves.
That is so bleak.
They are looking at the humans not just to select a ruler, but to study a technology compassion that they themselves no longer understand.
And once the humans realize this, once they defeat the golden ones through sheer communal grit and outsmarting them, they refuse to just passively accept the result of the experiment.
They push back.
Yeah, they demand to see the faces behind the curtain. And I love who initiates this. It's Barbara, the actress who used to rely entirely on directors and producers telling her where to stand. She is the one who insists on confronting the game makers.
It's a great character arc for her, and the reveal of the Transcendental Elders is a brilliant subversion of the majestic alien trope.
It's definitely not what you expect.
No, when the humans finally force their captors to manifest, they do not see towering beings of pure light or menacing, colossal intellects.
What do they see?
The entities that step forward are described as small, brown, and somewhat androgynous. They are physically unimposing.
Very mundane.
Yeah. The narrative reveals that they are scientifically 1,000,000 years ahead of humanity, and they have achieved biological immortality, meaning they have cured the aging process entirely.
But the caveat to that immortality is fascinating. It's like they have forged their biology out of spun glass.
Spun glass, yes.
It will never rust, it will never degrade over time, it will never succumb to disease. But if you drop it on a hard floor, it shatters into 1,000,000 irreparable pieces.
Right. They cannot die of old age, but they're entirely tragically vulnerable to fatal physical accident.
Which is such a crazy vulnerability for a godlike species.
But that physical fragility is the perfect external manifestation of their psychological state.
How do you mean?
Well, they have eliminated the slow decay of aging, but in doing so, they have become terrified of the chaotic, unpredictable physical universe. Their immortality has made them profoundly risk-averse.
Oh, because they actually have something to lose now. Eternity.
Exactly. This is why they orchestrate elaborate proxy wars from the safety of unseen observation decks. They cannot engage directly with the universe because a simple stumble could end a million-year-old life.
Wow.
Their power is vast, but their existence is a gilded cage of paranoia.
So these fragile gods descend, and they offer the humans their prize for surviving the ordeal and defeating the Supermen. And the offer is surprisingly simple.
A ticket home.
Yes, a ticket back to Earth. Avery can go back to his dreary, damp London park. Sutton can go back to selling soap on television. They are offered a return to the exact lives they were plucked from.
Which is supposed to be the ultimate reward.
Right, and the humans make a decision that completely upends the Elders' expectations.
They refuse.
They refuse.
Which is just, it's the ultimate culmination of the transit.
Yeah, they don't want to go back.
They have been stripped of their societal armor, they have confronted the bleak reality of the cosmos, they have killed, they have survived, and they have built a new society based on mutual reliance.
To return to Earth would be a regression for them.
Completely. They recognize that the lives they led in London were a different kind of slow, quiet death.
Yeah, the spiritual death of the mundane.
Right. They choose the brutal, vibrant reality of Achernar over the hollow safety of their past.
And the scale of this choice is massive, because the book suddenly expands the scope right at the end.
Yeah, the twist.
We learn that Avery's group wasn't a localized anomaly. The Elders had actually abducted and tested 20 different human groups simultaneously across various biomes on this planet.
20 different groups.
And out of those 20, 9 groups survived. 9 of them defeated their respective Alpha Centauri counterparts, and all 9 chose to remain.
It wasn't a fluke.
No. The human capacity for empathy was a consistently victorious evolutionary trait. The Golden Ones are entirely eradicated, and these 9 human tribes become the inheritors of the New World.
It really scales the narrative from a localized survival story to an epic tale of galactic colonization.
It gets huge.
The empathetic, flawed humans, the secretaries, artists, and admin, are the ones who prove fit to build the next great civilization.
Which brings us to the final, highly debated image of the novel.
Ah, yes, the ending.
After the cosmic scope is revealed, the camera pans back down to Richard Avery. He is standing on the beach of this alien world. The brutal war is over. The gods have retreated. And the text notes that Avery thinks, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but he thinks that perhaps, instead of looking for a piece of land to build on, he would paint. And perhaps, while he was painting, he would dream of building a boat.
It is an incredibly quiet ending to a very loud, violent narrative.
It really is.
And it polarizes readers. It really does. Many science fiction critics praise this ending for its radical optimism.
Optimism. How so?
Well, in a genre frequently defined by apocalyptic ruin, totalitarian regimes, or endless cosmic wars, ending with a character simply contemplating the creation of art is profoundly refreshing.
I can see that.
It suggests that the ultimate goal of survival isn't just to keep breathing, but to secure the space necessary for creative expression.
But let me present the counter-argument here, because there is a very vocal contingent of readers who find this ending incredibly frustrating.
Oh, for sure. The practical folks.
Right. Imagine you read a grueling 300-page account of surviving a shipwreck. The characters battle sharks, they suffer dehydration, they watch people die. They finally drag their bleeding bodies onto the shore of an uninhabited island.
Sounds exhausting.
And instead of immediately trying to find fresh water or build a shelter against the coming night, the protagonist sits down in the sand and says, "I think I'll paint a watercolor of this beach."
Yeah, it sounds a bit ridiculous when you put it like that.
It feels completely disconnected from the established mechanical reality of the world. Does this sudden pivot to peaceful contemplation undermine the gritty life-or-death realism the author spent the whole book building? Or does it actually seal the central metaphor?
Well, if you approach the novel purely as an engineering manual for planetary colonization, the ending is undeniably abrupt and, honestly, negligent.
Yeah, who is going to grow the food while he paints?
Exactly. It ignores the massive logistical nightmare of establishing a permanent agricultural and industrial base on a hostile alien world. However, if we evaluate the novel based on its stated premise, the psychological transit of the individual, the ending is really the only logical resolution.
Because it resolves Avery's internal conflict.
Precisely. The conflict was never truly about building a city. It was about curing Avery's existential paralysis. He began the novel as an artist who couldn't paint, trapped in a society that valued him only for his compliance.
Right.
He ends the novel having reclaimed his agency, his capacity for love, and his drive to create. The survival mechanics were merely the therapy required to break his creative block.
That's a very expensive form of therapy.
Galactic therapy session, yeah.
Yeah.
Contemplating painting a boat isn't a distraction from survival. It is the ultimate proof that the transit was successful.
He went from staring at an unfathomable burning crystal in the damp grass of a dying life to looking up at two alien moons and dreaming of building something new.
It's beautiful, really.
Yeah. When you look at the totality of what Richard Cooper achieved with this text, it's clear why transit remains such a vital piece of the science fiction canon.
It absolutely is.
It uses the terrifying, isolating tropes of abduction and cosmic displacement. It forces its characters through a brutal Darwinian meat grinder, and yet it emerges on the other side with a shockingly hopeful thesis.
It argues, quite convincingly, I think, that the traits we often view as liabilities in a ruthless world, our physical fragility, our emotional vulnerability, our deep need for community, are in fact the exact mechanisms that ensure our survival.
The things that make us weak actually make us strong.
Yes. The Alpha Centauri supermen possessed physical perfection, but they lacked the cognitive flexibility that comes from empathy.
Right.
The Transcendental Elders possessed technological perfection, but they lacked the courage that comes from mortality.
And humanity.
Only the humans possess the correct ratio of vulnerability and compassion required to adapt and thrive.
And that is the bridge from the 1960s source material directly to your life right now listening to this.
Absolutely.
You aren't going to be abducted by a teleprinter and forced to fight golden aliens on Achernar. Probably.
Hopefully not.
But you are constantly being forced into your own transits. We are all continually displaced by massive technological paradigm shifts, by economic instability, by the slow, creeping alienation of modern digital life.
The landscape is always shifting.
It is. When the landscape of your reality suddenly shifts and you find yourself in an unfamiliar, hostile environment, maybe it's a new career, a sudden loss, or just a radically changed society, the instinct is often to armor up.
To protect yourself.
Yeah, to become like the golden ones, aggressive, isolated, hyper-competitive. But what this narrative proves is that your greatest evolutionary advantage isn't ruthlessness.
No, it's not.
It is your capacity to look at the people stranded in the metal room alongside you, recognize their fear, and choose to work together to decipher the flashcards.
Because survival is ultimately a collaborative art.
Precisely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to unpack on your own.
Let's hear it.
Consider the Transcendental Elders one last time. They were 1,000,000 years older than us. They had conquered the decay of their own cells. They could map the stars and bend space.
Unfathomable power.
And yet the concept of human empathy was so utterly foreign to them that they had to build a galactic gladiator arena just to study it in action.
Yeah.
So ask yourself this. If an ancient, hyper-advanced, but entirely emotionless alien intelligence were observing your specific daily routine right now, quietly taking notes on how you navigate your world, what uniquely, messily human trait do you think would confuse them the most?